Mario Party. It is one of the essential Nintendo multiplayer franchises. It is known for ending friendships, and it absolutely lives up to that reputation. However, I mainly see people talking about the minigames in the Mario Party games, and not so much the boards. Boards are the main part of any Mario Party game, and when the boards are slacking, you get Mario Party 9 and 10. I always see people complain about how the bad Mario Party games miss the entire point of the boards, but don't talk about the boards they actually like. That's why I'm going to rank every main Mario Party board, but I won't include 9, 10, or the 3DS games, because 1, their board structures are much different from the other games, so they would be hard to compare. And the main reason, I don't want to suffer. And no, I'm not counting Superstars either. That's just remakes I'm going to be talking about in the older games. Also, please care to disagree with my opinions and tell me how wrong I am, because honestly, if anyone had the exact same list that I do, I'd be pretty terrified. Anyway, without further ado, let's go. Or whatever.
You suck, you jackass!
Whomp's Domino Ruins. I have never felt so bored when playing any other board than I have with this one. What even happens on this board? The Whomps move sometimes. This boulder moves you back like 5 spaces. You get to see firsthand how allies are the most overpowered things in the series. Oh wow, I'm so impressed. I'm so bored just thinking about it. The person who wins is the person who gets the most allies or rolls their big numbers the most consistently. This board is so simple even for a beginner, especially with other beginner boards like Pirate Land, Chilly Waters, Towering Tree Chop, and even DK's Jungle Adventure. This board is so boring I don't even want to talk about it anymore. Nothing happens the whole time. I mean, this is nowhere near the most aggressively terrible board in the series, but it is so boring. And to me, that is much worse.
Rectangles!
Booze Haunted Bash? More like Booze Haunted Trash? Ha! Seriously, this board sucks. The layout of the board is so boring. It's a giant freaking rectangle. And I mean, it's giant. This thing takes so long to get around without items. That's not even the worst part of it. These stupid pink boos are. So basically, there are these pink bridges that connect certain parts of the board. When anyone passes the pink boo in the middle, the bridges disappear. Going past it again makes the bridges reappear. This is just awful. All these bridges disappearing does is make things inaccessible for prolonged periods of time, including the pink boo in the middle. That means, if the star is directly behind one of these bridges, then someone has to go out of their way to bring the bridges back. Who's going to do that? Especially when the only way to enter the middle when the bridges are gone is on the very right side of the rectangle. And you get to miss Boo when you go towards the pink Boo. Wow. Who in their right mind is going to do that? You may think that you can enter on the top side, but you can't, because when the bridges are down, passing this point right here forces you to ride the ghost train that passes up the entrance to the middle on the top because the train stops you at the edges of the board. Speaking of things being accessible, if one of the bonus stars is the happening star, you would think there would be more than 2 happening spaces, and both of them are completely inaccessible when the pink boos are gone, as the train takes you right over them. The worst part when you land on them? This happens. Absolutely nothing. You have to be the 3rd person to land on them to get the effects of a big boo that steals from every player for triple the price, which will never happen. This board has backwards mechanics that go against the players and has an extremely boring layout. The only bit of joy I got from this board was Boo's sweet wizard costume.
Make a wish, honey.
I hate Eternal Star. This is extremely disappointing for the final board of the game, and needing to grind 100 stars to unlock it. Anyway, onto the board itself. The layout is complete garbage because you need to go through these randomized teleporters to get anywhere, and many of them just send you back to start. Speaking of going back to start, whenever someone lands on a happening space, every player goes back to start, undoing everyone's progress. Not only is it a slog to get around in the first place, but one happening space will ruin everyone's day. And that's not even mentioning that the star spaces can take one of your stars if you lose the dice game you have to play, although it is heavily weighted in the player's favor to win. Eternal Star is one of the most confusing and frustrating boards. It sucks.
Hey you! Get off of my cloud!
Have you ever wanted to play a board that's completely luck-based? Then Mario's Rainbow Castle is for you! I hate it. For a game with no items to manipulate your dice roll, you'd think they make the boards less reliant on luck, but no. On Mario's Rainbow Castle, you go down mostly a linear path and either see Toad or Bowser at the end. Toad gives you a star, Bowser tells you to fuck off and takes 40 coins. This wouldn't be so bad if there were alternate paths to delay or quicken your pace to the end, but there's just one in the middle of the board, and there's technically one at the end, but it's like a 2-space difference, so it doesn't matter. Also, happening spaces switch Toad and Bowser, so it would still be garbage even if you had items because of other players ruining your day. We'll get to you. This is a very boring board with a terrible execution.
Woshi! It's a double Yoshi explosion!
What do you know, another Mario Party 1 board. Just goes to show you how they didn't really find their footing until the following games. Anyway, Yoshi's Tropical Island is pretty similar to Mario's Rainbow Castle, but it's slightly more interesting and slightly less luck-based. Slightly. There's also an interesting mechanic with these swamps that you have to pay and the toll goes up every time someone pays. But what ends up happening most of the time is that someone jacks up the price, making it really hard to cross between the two islands. Other than that, it has the exact same problems as Mario's Rainbow Castle.
Am I really gonna defile this grave for money? Of course I am!
Oh wow, another botched final board. Although I'm not surprised that it's from Super Mario Party. Similarly to Whomp's Domino Rooms, this board is heavily dominated by alloys and characters with big dice numbers. It doesn't help that this is a linear board with like 25 spaces, so it just takes 3 tens from Bowser's dice block to complete the trip. There's a somewhat interesting mechanic with the fluctuating star price, 5, 10, and then 15 coins. And you can also buy 2 stars if you have enough coins. Problem is that coins are way too easy to get in this game, so no one will be short of coins. This wouldn't be a problem if there were more coin-taking events, but there's not. There's a shop that forces you to buy something for 6 coins, this chomp, and this thwomp like in Yoshi's Tropical Island. Also, the blue spaces and red spaces are doubled, and there's only 2 red spaces on the whole board. Again, this board is just boring to play through. Undersea Dream is so boring, you guys. I don't even know what to say about it. I mean, it's not as boring as Whomp's Domino Ruins, but I mean, nothing is. The theme is cool, I guess, but that's not really saying that much. This board is way too small, which makes it feel like the only strategy to win is to roll big numbers. There's the Stingray that can bring you to the opposite side of the board, and this Dolphin that takes you to this one space. Yeah, that's it.
It's f***ing Mario Kart again!
Mario Party 6 has a really amazing set of boards. With the unique day and night cycle, each board in the game manages to be very cool and stand out from the rest. Then they decided to remake Mario's Rainbow Castle. Seriously, talk about a total buzzkill. The only thing that makes this better than the original is that Mario Party 6 has items, and the only thing that's different is that Toad is replaced with Donkey Kong. You also lose a star when you arrive at Bowser, but that hardly matters when no one is going to have any stars anyway. Other than that, just copy and paste what I said about Mario's Rainbow Castle. Also, board design peaked when having a 5 on the last junction will always switch DK and Bowser. That's funny.
Listen everybody, let's bake a delicious cake.
Wow, another Mario Party 1 board, and another linear board. This one has these happening spaces where you can spend 30 coins to plant a piranha plant to steal a star from someone who lands on it, which is still exclusive to this board. I mean, this is just another boring board. There's this lottery thing that makes you spend 10 coins and you get to choose one of the 4 seeds. One of those seeds sends you to Bowser, and the other 3 send you to the star. This is just annoying, and why does it have to take 10 coins from me? That's just stupid. Other than that, it's just boring.
When you put your money in, it mysteriously disappears!
Mystery Land is garbage. I'm pretty sure everyone who's played this game thinks this. It's split up into 4 islands, and the only way to travel between them is by landing on happening spaces. You can also pay 10 coins to travel with this UFO to travel between 2 of the islands, and there's also skeleton key doors that make travel easier as well. The problem is that these ways of getting around aren't available on every island. The UFO is only available on 2 of the islands, and the skeleton keys are only available on the other 2 islands. You can also only hold 1 item in Mario Party 2. You are either stuck on an island you don't want to be on, or you keep teleporting when you don't want to. I don't even know what to say anymore. It's just bad.
May whoever did this die 1,000 deaths. May his stinking, maggot-covered corpse rot in the fiery depths of hell.
Pretty sure this next pick is a very hot take. I don't really know because I didn't really bother to look into it much, but I think this is a popular board. I don't like Bowser Land. Firstly, I think the layout is just kind of boring. It's just a square with some middle paths. Secondly, the Bowser Parade is really annoying. It would be fine if it just lost your coins when it hit you, but it also sends you back to the start of the board, negating all of your progress. I don't like that. I guess it can be planned for, but at the same time, whoever goes last can just choose to screw over who they want. Thirdly, this loop thing is complete garbage. The fact that 3 happening spaces in a row will send you through this loop is infuriating. I know that it's really in your favor to get out as there are plenty of happening spaces, but it just sends you back right out on the path to go right back in. And I swear, anytime the star spawns inside the circle of death, that's when you can never end up in there. The item shop that forces you to buy something sucks too, especially since you can only hold 1 item in this game. The only semi-cool thing about this board is the reverse banks, giving a nice twist on the mechanic seen through the rest of the game. Overall, I don't really see the hype on this one. I mean, if there is any.
Surfing on this sand here, surfing in a circle.
Pyramid Park is just kinda there. This one has the gimmick of everyone starting with 5 stars, and the only way to get stars is by stealing them from other players via these chain chomps. I don't particularly like this gimmick, but I don't hate it either. Although in this version of the gimmick, I do hate it. The problem is the layout. The board is split into 2 halves, and on one half, there's only 1 chain chomp that can roll 3 dice for 10 coins. On the other half, there's 3 chomps that let you roll 1 die for 10 coins and 2 dice for 20 coins. On that right side, the chomps are placed way too close together, and if you get stuck over there, you're just screwed as every other player can just hit you with a chomp. On the left side, barely anything happens because there's only 1 chomp. There are also no safe zones anywhere on this board except for this one 3 space area that you have to pay to get to. So the only way to avoid chomps is with a board exclusive item, the bone. Anyway, this isn't an awful gimmick, but in this case, the layout just doesn't work.
Let's be gnarly, dude!
Bowser's Gnarly Party? This must be the best board in the series. It's gnarly. No. The main issue with this one is with these crumbling bridges. Once 3 players pass them, they crumble and reappear on the other path, and there's one at the very beginning that sends you in a giant loop. If you get caught in that loop, you have to circle around 3 times to get out. That's just awful, and it takes way too long. Also, a lot of the main board events and star spawn spots are locked behind tiny gates, so you need to be hunting for mini mushrooms as well. This is the only board in Mario Party 4 where Bowser is on the board, and if you pass him, you lose half your coins. However, if you pass him while Mini, you are sent to Bowser's start. And if you pass him while Mega, you enter a Bowser minigame with him. That's the really only notable thing about this board. Well, that and the stupid bridges. Seriously, what is with Mario Party 4 and bridges so far?
And if you do drugs, you go to hell before you die.
I was initially gonna rank Bowser's Magma Mountain higher than I actually did. This is just a linear board in disguise. The only difference between this and the other linear boards is that there are these shortcuts that you can spend 10 coins to have a coin flip decide if you can take it or not. I don't like this. It should either be the 10 coins or the coin flip, not both. But since the star spot isn't stationary, you don't really have an incentive to use them most of the time, and a lot of them just end up passing the star anyways. Once you get to the end, you are forced to do a coin flip to see if you can see Bowser or Boo. That is also pretty stupid, especially since Bowser can take a star from you, which is another coin flip to see if he either takes coins or a star. The only reason I'm ranking this above some of the others is because this is at least interesting to play.
This is what I'm talking about! It's like a Wario taking Remember the Alamo!
Not gonna lie, I'm only ranking this as high as I am because of pure ironic enjoyment. I don't really care. I absolutely adore Wario's Battle Canyon. It is similar to Mysteryland in that it's separated into 4 islands. Unlike Mysteryland, however, you are forced to the next island when you cross the top part of any island. I actually like this much more than needing to land on specific spaces like in Mysteryland. Upon going to the next island, you land on a random space, and I find that incredibly funny, because you end up missing things by a few spaces so much, I swear the game does it on purpose. Yes, I know I hated the luck aspect of Mario's Rainbow Castle and Yoshi's Tropical Island, but here, you can actually make it around the whole board quickly if you land near the cannon on each island. I should absolutely hate this board, but it's so blatantly luck-based that I can't help but love it. Whenever I play Mario Party 1, this is my go-to board. I want my wedding to be held at Wario's Battle Canyon.
You are a toy!
Toy Dream is the board of all time. Here we're getting into the boards that I actually consider good, but out of those ones, there's not really much to talk about with Toy Dream. It is incredibly simple for the starting board of Mario Party 5. It's nowhere near as boring as something like Whomp's Domino Rooms or Boo's Haunted Trash, but it just kind of exists. There's nothing really outstanding about this one. But thankfully, nothing terrible either.
Who's up for a trip to the library tomorrow? Notice I no longer say library or tamari.
Gimmicks Library is another one that I should hate, but I just don't. The main gimmick is that there are 3 magic draws at a time. One with coins, one with a star, and one that sends you back to start. This isn't that bad because it's fairly easy to get around the board, as it's pretty small. Well, mostly. It is split into 2 halves, and the only way to go between them is landing on specific happening spaces. This is the only part of this board that I really don't like. There's also these happening spaces that replace all your items with slow dice block, which is also pretty frustrating. This board can get a little frustrating, but thankfully it's not too bad. America! Fuck yeah! Neon Heights has the exact same main gimmick as Gimmicks Library. However, here, there's not any split apart islands, so it's better. Although I don't really like how these coin events aren't spaces, you just have to walk by them to get the benefits. It's especially annoying because this one in particular is right at the beginning of the board, so pretty much everyone plays it constantly. Also, this board is loosely based on the United States. That's pretty cool, even though it doesn't really mean anything. That's it though, that's it. Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine. King Boo's Haunted Hideaway has such a cool gimmick. It's presented as a roguelike game where the board's layout and spaces are completely randomized every time someone gets a star. However, this is kind of annoying since the map isn't revealed until one of the players goes ahead. It does end up being pretty luck-based, but you can strategize around with items when someone reveals the correct or wrong path to the start. It is kind of annoying, but it is elevated by a really cool concept. Western Land is way too big. It is a perfectly fine board, but it just takes so long to get around this thing. You could take this train, but it is only stopped at one of these 3 stations, and only moves when someone pays to ride it or someone lands on a happening space. Also, if you get run over by the train, you go back to start, and have to restart the entire trip around. I know I'm really hammering in the point of how big it is, but that's really the biggest issue with this board. It also sucks that the item shop is in the middle, so you won't ever have items to help you go faster. It is a fine board, but the size just keeps it from being great.
It's called a road, it's called a rainbow road.
Rainbow Dream is much better than Wario's Battle Canyon or Mysteryland, and all they had to do was make one simple change. Here, you can either choose to go to the next island or stay when you get to the end. It does cost 5 coins to move to the next island, but it's still great to be able to choose to go or not. There's also this wheel in the middle that has happening spaces that move you to the next island for free. That's about it. It's just Mysteryland, but actually decent. Literally, Future Dream is just Rainbow Dream, but there's 3 islands instead of 4, the warps are free, and you can enter the warps from both sides. All these changes do make Future Dream slightly better than Rainbow Dream. It's weird how they made this board so similar to one that's already in the same game. The space theme is cool, these rockets are annoying, end of story.
Chocolate! Chocolate! Chocolate!
Sweet Dream is kind of like if Bowser's Gnarly Party was actually good. The bridges here crumble after being crossed by only one player instead of 3. So no one has to make 3 loops in order to catch up with anyone else if they fall behind. It's also much smaller, which really works well for a board with these bridges. If you go the wrong way, you can easily loop back around in one turn. One small complaint that I have is that all of these happening spaces take you to the exact same space every time. Other than that, is good.
Apple pen, pineapple pen. Pineapple, apple pen.
Mega Fruit Paradise is a major step up from the other split island boards that I've talked about so far. I particularly like how in this game you can roll a 0 and re-land on a space, and in this board's case, you can go back when you land on a warp space that you didn't want to. It also helps that custom dice blocks are so easy to get in this game, making landing on the warps pretty easy. Speaking of items, I really like how this shop goes away after a certain amount of items are bought from it, preventing camping for golden pipes, which can only be bought at this specific store. While the 2 halves are connected with happening spaces, the 2 islands on each half are connected with bridges, one that can break permanently after so many people cross it, and one with happening spaces that send you to start. I really like the theme of this board, and it's pretty fun to play on. It's weird, after those 2 horrible boards from Super Mario Party, it's nice to see a pretty good one.
I'm surfing in a circle, still surfing in a circle.
Okay, Mario Party 8 gets a lot of undeserved hate. Yeah, I know that some of the minigames are terrible. Like, really terrible. But the boards are really good. Bowser's Warped Orbit has a really good twist on the star collecting formula that feels unique despite being used 2 other times. That gimmick is the same one that we saw in Pyramid Park earlier. In this rendition, however, you use 2 board-specific items to steal stars from the other players. There's the bullet candy that lets you roll 3 dice and steals 1 star from every player you pass, and the Bowser candy that lets you roll 2 dice and take 2 stars from every player you pass. The thing that makes this much better than Pyramid Park is that you can use these items at any time, so you don't have to get to a certain point on the board in order to steal stars. The layout here is also just a circle, so it makes it way easier to hit other players. You need to strategize when to use your items in order to win here, with there being a bit of luck with happening spaces. One that flips the direction you go in, one that sends you to the opposite side of the board, and one that puts everyone on the same pace. The only thing that keeps this from being great is that it kind of gets repetitive after a bit.
Oh, east? I thought you said west.
Goomba's Booty Boardwalk is pretty good, and I know what you're all thinking. This is just a linear board, you hated all the other ones, why do you like this one? Well, random viewer person, that's because this board provides a certain strategy that the other linear boards that we've talked about so far don't have. It's not just about whoever can get the highest dice rolls, it's whoever can use their coins the most effectively, despite the star being free. There are these dolphins that you can pay around 10 to 20 coins that will take you further up the board. However, all the item shops are placed behind the dolphins, so you can choose to stay a bit behind and get a helpful item. Items are especially necessary because there's a happening space at the very end that will send you back to start before you can get a star. So, you can either rush ahead with the dolphins and hope you don't land on it, or you can take the slow route and guarantee that you don't land on it. I like that kind of strategy here.
The universe has brought us the Dragon Warrior.
Pagoda Peak is pretty similar to Goomba's Booty Boardwalk. The only differences are the star costs 10, 20, 30, or 40 coins, and the star price fluctuates every time someone collects a star. There are also no dolphins. Instead, there's a board-specific item, the cannon, that will launch you about 10 spaces forward. The same strategy applies where you can either buy a cannon to send you forward, or you can get an item that will guarantee that you don't land on the go back to start space at the end. The fluctuating star price also gives a strategy in arriving at the end at the right time, and it's also not too punishing like it is in Mario's Rainbow Castle and Castaway Bay.
Well, this sucks.
Snowflake Lake is the other Pyramid Park that I was referring to earlier. The thing that makes this better than the other two is that it has a good layout with the chain jumps. It's essentially a circle like Bowser's Warped Orbit, and it has a safe zone in the middle that gets blocked off during the nighttime. I really like how night forces conflict, but if you get in the safe zone right before night, you can stay in there while everyone else has to be on the outside and hit each other with the chain jumps. Just like in Bowser's Warped Orbit, it does get a little repetitive after a bit, so it's not toward the top. But it's still pretty good. You know, for being the first board in the entire series, DK's Jungle Adventure is actually pretty good. especially compared to the other boards in the first game we've gone over before. While Wario's Battle Canyon was just ironic enjoyment, this board is genuinely good. It has a really good size, and the womps that force you to spend 10 coins to go the way they're blocking provide a nice hazard, unlike the Domino Ruins where they cost 3 coins. There's also a boulder that sends you back to start, also unlike Domino Ruins where you go back like 5 spaces. Can you tell that I don't like Womp's Domino Ruins? It's weird that these doors that make you have 20 coins to go that direction are in this board and never reappear again. Other than that, this is just a solid board with solid hazards, which is something I can't say about the other Mario Party 1 boards. Well, except for
Luigi, you're so freaking sexy!
Luigi's Engine Room is my pick for the best board in the first game. I mean, it's not really a high bar to clear, but still, it's good. A lot of people really dislike the door mechanic where the red and blue doors alternate being opened and closed every turn. I don't mind it because it can be strategized around, although this game's lack of items make that a little harder than it would be in any other game. There are plenty of these robots that you can give 20 coins to flip the gates to help you or screw over another player. There are also so many different paths that all go back to start fairly quickly. One thing I don't like about this board is that every alternate path leads right to Boo, so literally everyone will use him constantly. Also, unrelated, but I like how Bowser on this board gives you 1 coin but charges 20 coins for it. That's hilarious.
Mining away.
Super Mario Party has a really good board? I don't believe it. Yeah, King Bomb's Powder Cake Mine is actually really good. The main attraction of this board is that there's King Bomb with a counter of 5 in the middle, and each happening space counts down by 1, and he'll explode once it reaches 0, causing everyone in this square to lose half of their coins. One of these risk factors that makes people lose coins was missing from the rest of Super's boards, and they really help a board stand out tremendously while giving a big boost of strategy. But you can stay in and risk your coins to get somewhere faster. This is also the only board in Super where it doesn't feel like you need allies to win. You just need to strategize properly. Overall, good job, Super Mario Party. I didn't think you had it in you.
Who is that? He's just this old crazy guy that gets pissed off because I'm in his garden all the time.
Whaler's Garden is just a solid board. There are plenty of paths to take, and it has plenty of coin events to keep you wanting to land on happening spaces. While it is pretty small since it's the first board in Mario Party DS, it is still pretty good. I would like it to be a bit bigger, but other than that, it's just a solid board. I don't really have much else to say about it.
What's this icky paint-like goop? It's moving!
Toad's Midway Madness was on the verge of being terrible, but thankfully it isn't. These teacup things are the main talking point of this board, but they don't manage to be very annoying like in Bowser's Gnarly Party. Again, what is it with Mario Party 4 and forcing you to go certain directions? Anyway, the teacups force you one way, and then they switch to the other way for the next player. There are only 2 of these in the whole board, so it doesn't become unbearable. The one at the beginning does send you on a loop, but it is a small loop, and you only have to loop once to get back on track. It is a small bit of luck without punishing the players who get stuck too much. The rest of the board is solid, especially with this roller coaster that can take it to the other side of the board quickly. This is a great first board for Mario Party 4.
How are you? I am under the water.
Wow, we finally reached our first board for Mario Party 3. The only thing that keeps Deep Blue Sea from topping the others is that it doesn't really have a uniqueness factor. It's a really good board, but I just don't see myself playing this one as much as some of the others. It does have a good amount of luck with the blooper that sends you on the other path, and this 1 in 4 shot to go the direction you didn't pick. It also has a good bit of strategy with this whatever this thing is that will launch you into one of the corners of the board. And if it's pointing to somewhere you don't want to, you can mash A to swim away and stay put. Honestly, it's a shame that these action times on happening spaces are only in the 3rd game, because it lets the player choose whether or not they want to travel where the space sends you. This is just a really good board, not much else to say.
I hope she made lots of spaghetti!
Just like with Deep Blue Sea, Grand Canal is just another very solid board. Doesn't really do anything too unique, except with the theme being based on Venice, Italy. They really nailed the feel of it, even though I've never been there, so they probably nailed it. I don't know. Anyway, I do like this event at the top of the board that you can earn a star or even lose a star. I also really like the size and all the different paths on this board. This is just a very good choice for a board.
To the wild! The wild? Whoa!
Shy Guy's Jungle Jam is a board that is split into 2 halves, and landing on any of the happening spaces have a chance to cause a flood for upwards of 3 turns, making the bridges connecting the halves unusable. However, you can also pay the Shy Guy or this bird dude to let you cross over, So even though the flood doesn't happen too often, there are still ways to cross the two sides. The only thing I don't like about it is that I wish the flood would happen every time someone landed on a happening space, making it a good strategy to land on to try to block off your opponents. I also like how Boo's behind a minigate, making you need to go out of your way to be able to use him. I always really liked when boards do that. This board is another solid one.
Why couldn't the 11-year-old get into the pirate movie? Why? It was rated R.
Pirate Land is another great board. I mean, it's better than all the other boards I've talked about. That's how ranking videos work. It's another board that doesn't really have a main gimmick outside of these cannonballs that send you back to start. I really like how this board uses skeleton key doors and paid alternate paths. It's essentially a linear board, but you can use skeleton keys or pay these thwomps to cut off a big portion of the track. You could even take this door to see Boo very quickly. It's another Boo placement that I really like because you have to either go around the entire board or you can buy a skeleton key and possibly miss out on a star. It's a big risk versus reward thing and I really like it. The pirate costumes are really cool too. Well, that doesn't really amount to anything, but they're still cool.
You're gonna turn into a Goomba!
Goomba's Greedy Gala is a really good casino-themed board. With Mario Party's reliance on luck, I'm surprised it's the only one. The main gimmick here is that there are 4 quadrants, and once you get to this roulette in the middle, it decides which one you go to. That sounds bad, but you can bribe this Goomba running it with 5, 10, or 20 coins to rig it in your favor. Most of the time I bribe 10 or 20 coins, it sends me to the quadrant with the star. There are also these Goombas that will roll a die. If you roll higher, you get to pass, and if you roll lower, you go back to start. All of these things are luck-based, but for me, they give a good amount of luck where it still feels fair. And besides, the theme is gambling. What did you expect?
Man, I spent hours of my life stomping Koopas.
Koopa's Seaside Soiree is the best board in Mario Party 4. I think that is the perfect size with these happening spaces that let you travel quickly across the board. I also really like the cabana in the middle that makes you pay 5 coins when you walk by, and all the happening spaces that destroy and make you pay for the damages. You can use a Mega Mushroom to try to avoid it, but you might miss something else like the shop or even the star. A lot of people also really seem to hate these monkeys that choose which way you go, but I never thought it was that bad. Similarly to Goomba's Greedy Gala, I think that it is a good amount of luck to balance things out for everyone. This is also another board where Boo is really out of the way, and just like those other instances, I really like that.
You shouldn't do drugs. If you do them, you're bad. Because drugs are bad, okay?
DK Stone's statue has a really good gimmick, that being that the star is always in one place, and if you have enough coins, you can buy as many stars as you want. Although it can get really out of hand, and if you have enough coins, you can do this. There are also these happening spaces that send out barrels to make everyone on these straightaways lose 10 coins, giving a good risk-reward factor. You can choose to slowly make your way to the star and try to get more stars, but can you not? You can slowly make your way to the star and try to get more stars, but you risk losing your coins with the barrels. I also like how there's a split path at the beginning, one taking you to the shop, but also on the path of the barrels. And the other one not having any barrel traps, but it doesn't have access to the shop, preventing you from getting items to get to the end quickly. While this is a linear board, there's a big risk-reward factor with it that makes me really like it.
Oh, banana!
DK's Treetop Temple is another example of why Mario Party 8 gets way too much hate. It's a really good board. I really like the layout and how all the different paths are viable options. It's also really easy to get around with these cannons that you can spend 5 coins to launch higher up the board. I really like how vertical the board is. It makes the layout feel really unique, even if it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. I also like how the path with the lucky space on it has these happening spaces that will send you the opposite direction. That's a nice risk-reward thing, which I've explained how I really like multiple times in this video. And probably a lot more times later.
Looks are deceiving when Koopas are involved.
Bowser's Enchanted Inferno. Wait, sorry. Bowser's Enchanted Inferno, with an exclamation mark, sets the standards with how you make a board separated into 4 islands. While with the other boards of this nature, in order to get to the island behind you, you need to go across all the other islands to get there. Here, you can enter each island from any side, and you only need to go across 1 island at most to get to the one you want to go. Also, every time it's Bowser time, Bowser will sink the island with a star, causing every player on that island to lose half their coins. You always know when Bowser time is coming, and you can easily strategize around that. It's also another example of risk and reward. You could try to get the star right before the island sinks and cause a different island to sink, or you might make the star reappear on your island so you still sink. Unrelated, but there's this sumo board event where you have to match A, but I can never win it. I don't know if it's just really hard, or if I just suck at mashing. Probably the latter.
Train. Train. Train.
Shy Guy's Perplex Express is easily the best linear board. The train theme is really cool and each of the cars are unique. The thing that makes this so much better than the other linear boards is that, say it with me everyone, as a risk-reward factor. Normally, you need to get to the front of the train to buy a star for 20 coins. But the DK and Bowser spaces really switch it up. DK will go to the front of the train and give you a star for free, and Bowser will go to the front and take a star from you. The train goes back to normal afterwards. It's not like Mario's Rainbow Castle or Castaway Bay where someone has to go see Bowser. If someone lands on a DK space while Bowser is active, Bowser will be replaced by DK, and vice versa. After you get to the front, you have to travel back to the star on top of the train. That makes it seem really unique as the star is actually in the middle of the linear board and not at the end. Another big shakeup is the certain happening spaces that will move the car closest to the front to the back of the train, moving every player on that car as well. If you're inside the car, you go back to the star, and if you're on top of the car, you get pushed forward. This also gives a bit of luck that I really appreciate in Mario Party. Also, where the heck is the train going? It's in the middle of nowhere with generic background on PNG.
My boy, and off their dice. Landing and the more shoots, pair of dice.
Fair Square is a better version of the already good DK Stone statue. First of all, it limits the amount of stars you could buy at a time to 5. That really stops the game from getting way too out of hand, which I appreciate. I also really enjoy how all the events on the board are just to gamble coins or stars, especially since there's another risk-reward factor. At the daytime, stars will always cost 20 coins, but at night, it can cost either 5, 10, 30, or 40 coins. You can either buy the guaranteed price at the day, or risk trying to get the cheap stars. If you have enough coins, you can even keep paying the swamp to go around the star spot again. Or you can leave the middle to get more coins for more stars. This is a gimmick that's executed really well.
And then one in a tropical climate. But why would you do that when you could come to the Netherlands?
Windmillville has such an amazing gimmick. There are these windmills that have different star values. Every player needs to invest coins into them, and whoever has the most coins invested into a windmill takes control of it and gets the number of stars it's worth. This makes coins so much more valuable than they are normally, and it has a huge amount of strategy. However, you don't get to choose where you go. The paths are alternating. It's not a big deal because if you play your cards right with the windmills you get to, you can still win. It's a small price to pay for an amazing gimmick. It's great.
This is it, dudes. After 4 long years of trying, I might finally get the high score on Stan's creepy old pinball machine.
Bowser's Pinball Machine is such a great ending board for the DS entry. I really like how many gambling aspects there are, like this roulette you always pass, and this other roulette that lets you gamble some of your coins. It also has another amazing risk-reward factor with the Bowser Zone and Star Zone. Landing on these happening spaces will send you over to the Bowser Zone 90% of the time, and the Star Zone 10% of the time. The Star Zone simply gives you 1 to 3 stars for free. The Bowser Zone has 5 happening spaces, and if you land on them, you lose all your stars and all your coins. You may think that it's garbage and not worth the risk, but if you have an item such as Golden Pipe or even the Double Dice, you can escape that Bowser Zone untouched. You can risk trying to get to the Star Zone and also have an escape plan if you don't get it. The board was already great, but this aspect shoots it above a lot of the others. Oh, and the music slaps. I could see anyone having a good time on this one. Except for John.
I don't know, man. Game, if you roll me a 4, I'm gonna cry. You piece of shit! You what are you?
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
Toadette's Music Room is my favorite DS board. I was really contemplating whether I chose this or Bowser's Pinball Machine, and ultimately I chose this. It has a very simple gimmick, that being that the star is a different price every time, starting with 5 coins, then increasing to 10, 15, 20, 30, and then it goes back to 5. I really like this gimmick. It's simple, yet effective. It really makes you think about if you want to skip out on a more expensive star to see if you can get a cheap one, similar to Fair Square. I also like the layout a bit more than Pinball Machine, hence why I put this board above it. The music room is a really cool theme as well, and after this, we never see Toadette play music at all. Actually, she doesn't play music here either. She just owns it, I guess. Huh.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
After all the mediocrity that Mario Party 5's boards had, I was really surprised about Bowser Nightmare. This board is much bigger than the other ones I've talked about in 5, and that makes it really good. It's also not too bloated like Westerland or Boo's Haunted Trash were. There is a Circle of Death here like in Bowserland, but I much prefer it here. For one, there's only one happening space on each side to enter it, so the odds of going in are much lower. Second, the star cannot spawn in there, so there's no reason to want to get in it. Third, once you get out, you can't go back unless you loop around the whole board, so I don't mind the Circle of Death at all. It's a nice out-of-the-way punishment, and you can escape easily if you have a warp item. I also really like this happening space where Bowser takes a walk and makes all the blue spaces he passes red. There's not really much else to that, I just thought it was funny.
Are ya ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain!
Pirate Dream is so great, you guys. It has a great size, great layout, and enough split paths to make it feel bigger than it is. It's amazing. I think the absence of the Circle of Death puts this above Bowser Nightmare. I know I said I kinda liked it there, but if things go really wrong, a player could end up there for multiple turns, even if the circumstances need to line up perfectly for this to happen. I don't really have much else to say about Pirate Dream despite how much I like it. It's just really great.
Look, I'm Woody. Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Woody Woods, the only board from Mario Party 3 that's in Mario Party Superstars, and yes, I'm still salty that they only picked one board from 3. Considering this is only the second board from 3 I've listed so far, you've probably figured out how amazing I think that game's boards are. With Woody Woods, I think that it's the perfect size, and it's so fun to travel with different pathways. It also has a great strategy factor with these signs that flip every turn, similar to Luigi's Engine Room. Since this game has items, especially the reverse mushroom exclusive to this game, that gives the player a lot of strategizing to do. If I had one small complaint, it's that the moles that you pay to switch the signs are kind of in awkward spots, and they aren't really useful at times. Other than that, this is an excellent board.
Are we being too literal?
No, you fool, we're following orders. We were told to comb the desert, so we're combing it.
I was really expecting to hate Spiny Desert before I made this list. I even called it the worst board in Mario Party 3 in my old ghetto-style Let's Play of the game. But when I actually played the board for this video, I absolutely loved it. Just like with Woody Woods, the size is perfect. There are also a lot more ways to get around quickly, like with these cacti that send you to a spot, or these sand curts that send you to the opposite side of the board. Both of these travel options really make me appreciate the main gimmick, that there are 2 star spots, and one of them is fake, because if you get the wrong one, it's very easy to get to the other one quickly. You can strategize to go for one first if it's close to the cacti, just in case it's the wrong star. The gimmick sounds bad, but Spiny Desert manages to make it really fun and unique.
No, light speed is too slow. Light speed too slow? Yes, we're gonna have to go right to ludicrous speed.
Spaceland is so amazing. For being a board that's essentially a giant square, it manages to be super unique and fun. In the middle of the board, there's a countdown that goes down by 1 when you leave the middle, and when it reaches 0, the Bowser laser shoots down this path and takes every coin from whoever gets hit by it. This gives that risk-reward factor that I've been praising through the entirety of this video. If the star is in the path of the laser and the counter is low, you could end up paying the price for going towards the star. One thing I especially like about the laser is that one of the players has to choose to set it off instead of it being a random space or event. You can also go any direction from the middle, so it's a quick way to get around. There are also these thwomps that can chase you down these paths, which gives a bit of luck to a board that isn't too punishing. This board is really great.
Wasteland? I think you mean Wonderland!
How is the beginner board in Mario Party 3 so good? Chilly Waters is so much more in depth than Deep Blooper Sea, which probably should have been the beginner board in 3. Anyway, Chilly Waters has a gimmick that is very simple, yet very effective, which I really appreciate. There's a frozen pond in the middle that lets you go any direction, making it a very quick way to get around. However, if 2 people are on it at the same time, the ice breaks and sends the players to this space. This again gives some risk-reward, as only one player can go across the middle at a time, or everyone who goes there will be punished. That is a really great gimmick. Also, just like in Deep Blue Sea, I really like how these snowballs that send you down a path can be avoided by pressing A at the right time. It's just really good.
What's to do for a party of 3?
What's that, Tim?
Is to climb a tree.
Towering Treetop from Mario Party 6 is my pick for the best beginner board. I think that is just the right size with the perfect amount of branching paths. Get it? Branch, goes, tree. I think the day and night mechanic here, which I really haven't mentioned all too much with Mario Party 6, is a simple change, making some paths inaccessible, but it can lead to strategizing when using your items when the paths are shorter. This is also one of the only 2 boards in Mario Party 6 to have a pink boo that are just the replacement for regular boo in the previous games. The other board being Castaway Bay, which I didn't even mention there. Since he's only available at night, that limits the use of him while also needing to strategize when to get up there so you can use him. I think for a beginner board, Towering Treetop nails the balance of all the aspects I like in Mario Party boards.
It's time to stop!
Clockwork Castle easily has the best use of the day and night cycle. During the day, Donkey Kong has a star for 20 coins and he'll roll a die after everyone's turn and move to a different spot. If you catch him and buy a star, he'll jump somewhere else on the board. But if he runs into you, you can buy a star from him and he'll keep going normally so you can run into him again. Once it becomes night, DK is replaced with Bowser and everyone will move in the opposite direction. Instead of giving you a star, Bowser will take one, or coins if you don't have a star. This can be completely strategized around, and if you get caught by Bowser, it's your fault. There are pipes that can take you to the other side of the board and either get away from Bowser or get close to DK. You should always know how close it is tonight so you can risk getting close to DK for more stars, but end up losing a star instead when it turns night. This is an excellent board concept with an excellent execution.
Ooh, Mario's Tunnel of Doom. Very scary.
Wow, Horrorland is so amazing. Being the introduction of the day and night cycle in Mario Party 2, it is executed very well. There are thwomps that are similar to the ones in DK's Jungle Adventure, but here, they freeze at night, forcing you to go the other direction. There are a lot of boos on this board, but some only appear at night, and some only appear during the day. There's also a big boo behind a skeleton key door that can steal stars or coins from every player for triple the price. But unlike Boo's Haunted Trash, it's actually possible to get to it. The big boo is also only accessible at night. These give a big amount of strategy and risk reward, which I really love. Along with that, I also think this board hits the perfect size and path amount, making it so fun to explore. It's weird how we finally got a really amazing horror-themed board.
You bring a light?
No.
Creepy Cavern is what Yoshi's Tropical Island should have been. A board separated into 2 halves where there are so many different ways to cross makes for such an amazing and unique board. Where Yoshi's Tropical Island was a game of complete chance, Creepy Cavern manages to encapsulate a perfect amount of strategy needed to win. You always need a backup plan, because you never know when you need to cross to the other side. There are 3 main ways to cross, with a skeleton key door, paying to ride a minecart across, or landing on a happening space to get chased by that minecart to the other side. There's always an easy way to get to the other side of this board. Just like with the previous boards, it's also a board with the right size and just the right amount of pathways. But none of that matters, because the real reason that this board is one of the best boards is that these womps are playing Mario Party board game. Amazing.
We have technology!
You'd think since I have EGAD's Garage ranked at number 3, I'd have a lot to say about it. But I don't. It's just a better version of all the other great boards beforehand. Everything I liked about those ones, like the size, paths, and strategy, are here, but just executed a little better. I really like the theme of this board as well, and how the board events are all different inventions, such as the orb launcher, the teleporters, and the giant fan that steals coins. Even though it's minor, the middle part spinning 90 degrees every change from day to night is a really great change that alters strategy. Overall, this is an excellent board based on the second most underappreciated Mario character. Who is the first, you might ask? Well...
I bless the rains down in every can.
Waluigi's Island is one of humanity's greatest achievements. I think that it has the perfect balance of strategy, risk and reward, and luck. Each section of the board is unique, such as the circle with the countdown that makes everyone in it lose their coins, the island that has all the spaces the exact same and changes every turn, the 50-50 chance to get boo, and the wheel you have to time correctly to go the way you want to go. It's all very crazy, but still manages to be able to be strategized around. Well, except for the 50-50 guess thing. but honestly, since it only goes to Boo, I don't mind at all. I've mentioned before that I really like it when Boo is out of the way, so this is right up my alley. This is the perfect board for the perfect Mario character. Wait, why is it not number 1? Koopa's Tycoon Town is actually humanity's greatest achievement. I know I said Waluigi's Island had the perfect balance of strategy, risk reward, and luck, but Koopa's Tycoon Town does it even better. The main gimmick here is similar to Windmillville, but it is executed so much better. First of all, the hotels, oh yeah, they're hotels instead of windmills, all start as 1 stars. Once the total of the coins invested into it reaches 20, it becomes a 2-star hotel, and at 50, a 3-star. The only exception being that the 2 lucky spaces lead to 2 different hotels that are automatically 3 stars. Unlike other lucky spaces in Mario Party 8 boards, these stars can be stolen as anyone else who lands on the spaces will be taken to the same hotels. When you get to the lucky hotel, you can invest a few coins and hope no one else gets there. Or you can make absolutely sure that no one can take it, but also risk not being able to get other hotels. This goes for the rest of the hotels because unlike Windmillville, you can choose to go to any hotel at any time. While you can work on 1 hotel, you could also try to get as many hotels as possible. Every item shop is also a choice you have to make because those coins could either help you get to a hotel faster, or you could save the coins for the hotel itself. Like I said with Windmillville, coins matter here so much more than they do normally. There are also these bandits and Bowser that can take invested coins from a hotel, so you need to be able to strategize around those as well. This board is so amazing and the absolute peak of Mario Party boards. Welp, there's my list. I don't really know what else to say here. This took a lot out of me. Well, actually, I do know what to say. Did I justify Mario Party 8 yet?